intersection somewhere. But again, targeting someone, ganging up, they were actually jumping up, targeting those who they feel are more vulnerable. So, that's why I'm asking, who are we fighting? Because I know a lot of times when I hear people talk about fighting or getting guns or weapons to fight, they're really focused on, quite often it's been they really focus on fighting our own people. Whether it's in the streets, folks getting protection, thinking they're going to have to deal with one of our own people because of them being preyed on, or even folks with homes or apartments getting weapons, suggesting they're going to have to use it on somebody breaking into their home or breaking into their car. It's actually a Facebook group called Windsor Hills View Park, where folks who, I believe most of folks stay in that area, but I do see other folks who I know don't stay in that area sometimes post and comment. But there's been a few posts where I've seen, especially non-black folks who now live in that area, post and share pictures of young black people who came to their properties. And this last post that was made earlier last week, it appeared to be a Latino woman posted a younger black woman, said the younger black woman came to her door while she was on her phone, and whoever she was on the phone with, the young black lady, told the person that the Latino woman had a dog in her house. And the Latino woman went on to insinuate she believed the young woman was coming to do her and her family no good. And instantly I saw other blacks, responding and kind of thanking the woman for sharing. And, I came on, I was actually, the notification came to the Fight to Save Black LA page that I am one of the moderators, and I responded through that page basically saying, I want people to stop rushing to judgment every time they see young black folks in that area coming to their doors. And a couple of the comments, folks were suggesting, shooting these young black people. And I do know there have been people in those areas breaking into folks' homes, stealing their packages and doing different stuff. But I also know it's not just young black people doing this. I know folks have had issues with Latinos over in that area. Some folks have even come to find out, their maids, their gardeners, and other folks have been responsible for carrying out crimes over there. We had the situation in Ladera where a white person went around and was carving swastikas on people's cars and left other, I believe he also did some graffiti. And we have been having issues with these non-black folks in these areas. But I commented on the post basically, highlighting this stuff and, suggesting for folks to not start vilifying young people when they see them in that area. And unfortunately, some of the Negroes, I went to some of their pages who were commenting, they were agreeing with the woman, but what they don't realize is they are helping to vilify their own children, because that's what these people are really doing. I think, as I shared on one of my last posts about the woman working with the Department of Justice coming into our area, basically to take up for folks who are now moving over here, saying they are victims of hate crimes. But again, all of this plays into further vilifying our youth and even black men, period. Even at the age I'm at, I'm still not in the safe zone. Both just seeing how police and sheriffs still respond to me, but also seeing how some of these newer folks kind of respond to me. I was sharing in one of my last videos a situation I had as I was making the video. But with that, like I was saying, with the other video I shared and the thousands of comments, if you get a chance, please read. I actually deleted a particular trend of comments that was being left A lot of folks kept saying the brothers should not be telling the world what's going on in Mississippi. But the reason why I know what he did is good, if what he said is true, if black folks are really arming themselves, arming their children to that extent, his announcement is good, because what we have seen happen with a lot of our groups who have armed themselves to protect themselves, especially in more recent times, we didn't get labeled as terrorists. For the past decade, if not longer, they have labeled a lot of us who practice protecting ourselves, whether it be against these police agencies, sheriffs, whatever, and other hate groups. They now are starting to label us as black domestic terrorists. So you got to figure that if black people are going, he was saying, to like Walmart and other stores that sell guns, he was saying they're going into pawn shops and they're going to gun ranges. All this is information that's already known. The same entities that they were saying, would see his post speaking about it, they have identified already, if black folks are buying guns in that large number, they have already identified that. If black folks are going to the gun ranges, like he is saying, they have identified that. So what his announcing it does, it now takes control of the narrative and let it be known that they are doing this for self-defense. They're not a terrorist organization, and are not terrorizing anything other than those who seek to harm them. And that is something that we got to get out of, constantly being scared of the consequences in any and everything we do, because that is what prevents too many of our folks from doing shit, and it doesn't prevent them from being preyed on. So again, by folks arming themselves, if they are doing it to the extent that he says they're doing it, one, it sends a clear message that those who they normally prey on thinking they're vulnerable won't be so vulnerable now. And that in and of itself will very likely make them slow down. When they get the word that black people are buying arms in large numbers, that will slow them down. Like here in LA, every time we hear these white hate groups about coming to LA, quite often we know they're not coming into our neighborhoods. Like I said, the one time when Brother Freak and some other blacks, they were attempting to escort the Minutemen into our community. It would be a situation like that because they know a lot of black folks throughout LA are gun owners, whether legally or illegally. So that we know deters a lot of efforts of these hate groups. But again, my question, who are we fighting? These hate groups then utilize other groups to engage in war with us. And that's what I've been saying, where we're seeing down south, the rise in crimes and terrorizing blacks against primarily white folks. Here in LA, it's been primarily Latinos, but it's others too. So what I'm asking, what and who are we fighting, is to check to see if our folks who are thinking about fighting see beyond just the immediate other black people in their face. A sister I shared earlier this summer whose daughter was molested, she had actually reached out to me yesterday because she wanted to contribute some food to our food giveaway this Sunday. And this Sunday we do have the organic produce. So again, any and all who are in need of food, make sure y'all come join us this Sunday at 9 o'clock. We'll be giving out tickets, and at 11 we start distributing the food. But the sister whose daughter was molested reached out to contribute some food to us, and when I spoke to her, she's been relocated further east, further back in the East LA. Where her daughter was molested is Avalon Gardens, which is a little more south central. But since she's been back, I think 3 weeks, further East LA. She said she went and bought a pool for her and her daughters, a blow up pool, earlier this week because it's gotten hot this week. And she said a few days ago, her and her daughters were in it, and directly across from her front door is a mini play area for her entire apartment. But she said while her and her daughters were in the blow up pool, a group of Latinos came to the play area, and she said it's basically a gang, and they call themselves the Hazards. But they enjoy their souls in the pool. But she said the next morning when she went out, she saw holes had been poked in her pool. And then later that day, she found a large butcher knife close by the pool, would let her know that was very likely what was used to poke the holes. But, she goes from an area where an older Latino man molested her daughter. Now she's back in the area where a group of them, she said even leading up to that, different comments had been made. But, again, effort to terrorize them. And part of what also is part of the reason why I'm asking who are we fighting? A brother shared with me, I think yesterday, that he listened to a radio broadcast, one of the local radio stations, one of the hosts a few days ago posed the question, are Black and Latinos at war? And the brother was telling me that the host is basically taking a position of this whole black and brown bullshit. And even some of the callers were attempting to tell her, like, yeah, we got some major issues. And she was basically pushing the line that it's only a few, that I guess the majority of them don't have issues with us. But at this point, people talking like that are just exposing themselves. And again, this is a person who is mulatto, so she doesn't necessarily deal with the racial tension to the extent that a lot of the rest of us deal with. But the problem is when you're in a position like that and you choose to advocate against what the community is saying, that's where it becomes problematic, because you're basically enabling the terrorizing these people are doing at large. And again, it's not just, gangs that this is happening with. As we've been highlighting, I've been going through a lot of our videos over the past 10 years and just sharing the many different fronts we've had to fight on. And I think it was 2019, I shared when we were at the Crenshaw Plaza and had to fight to get a lot of jobs. And that was actually followed up. I didn't go into it, but we had another program after we fought that battle for a little over a month, where we had a program called the Business Relation Improvement Project, BRIP, and we worked with a local organization known as HOPE to go around and identify many of the businesses in the area, whether or not they were owned by Black folks, and if they were not owned by Black people, were they hiring Black people? And we found in most cases, no. But as a result of that effort, between that and the Crenshaw Plaza, we ended up getting over 100 jobs in the community. But I'm saying this to say that it's not just the racial tension we experienced from gangs, and now that the police and sheriffs are mostly Latinos, it's not just them, but systemically with the jobs, we're seeing both with the Nolan Wells and the Carmelo Anthony, that when it gets to the courts, or when it's supposed to get to the courts, we're fighting the systemic racism there. Here in LA, California, again, now that we have lost a lot of positions, Black folks in the courts, and even when we had a lot more Black judges, they were bullshit. Prosecutors were bullshit. But these political positions, Again, where a lot of the leadership was bullshit. Um, if we don't first know what and who we're fighting, we're not going to realistically come up with how to fight. And again, the video that I shared that went viral, just with a lot of the comments I saw that, where, like I was saying at first, the biggest pushback people were just saying he shouldn't be announcing that. And again, he was just announcing something that the enemies already know. If they're really buying guns at that rate, they already know that. And again, that is where we have to be proactive and take control of the narrative and let it be known why black folks are very likely in possession of all of these guns now. But another pushback, of course, with folks saying, oh, you got to go vote. Vote for who and vote for what? The Negroes who are in position right now, they're not combating this shit. Here in LA, they won't even speak out against this shit. I've been seeing Karen Bass ass pop up everywhere. And again, yeah, she'll come out and support, folks having a party, having an event, a couple business here and there. But the larger issue that black people are dealing with right now, being displaced, and the primary folks, as the reports are showing, these bugs are starting to tear me up. That's what the fuck they're not dealing with. That even in these housing agencies, the sister I just spoke on, they, their answer of dealing with her daughter being molested was putting her further east, back with more Latinos, as though they were punishing her, knowing the issues that black people are dealing with in those areas. But Karen Bass and all these Negroes in position, they know this shit. And they're not doing nothing. So that's why, there's a growing consciousness to say, fuck all these misleaders. But it's showing that it ultimately is going to come to what are we going to do? And that's why I'm asking, who are we fighting? Because if all people are thinking about going out fighting and somebody else black, they're going to find themselves caught up in some bullshit, quite often over some petty shit or some ego shit or some drama. And they will either get themselves taken out or removed, locked up, and their family are still going to be out here fighting the larger systemic issues that we are dealing with right now. And that is being driven by two primary entities. The great white American entity that Trump is revitalizing, giving them life, is primarily why we see the rise in a lot of these terrorist attacks against black folks throughout the South. Other folks are really starting to call out a lot of these hangings that we're seeing, not just South, but all around the country right now. Clearly, law enforcement, but we also know a lot of these white supremacists have infiltrated law enforcement around the country. But in addition to the great white Aryan hate that we're fighting, is the Zionist coup. And the Zionist coup is more tricky with it. They're more systemic with it, and they more so utilize people from the background. Whether, like we've been saying, every chance they get, they've been blocking our reparation efforts. Financially, the difference between them and the Aryan bully, the Zionists figured out a while ago that everyone has a price, or most people has a price. And that ultimately is how they've been able to control. What up with you, young Vino? That is how they have been able to infiltrate and take control and create division amongst damn near everything. As long as people believe money is the fucking answer and they will do whatever for money, these fucking Zionists will ultimately take control of that shit. That's why when folks say just vote, it's dumb shit. If you don't have a fucking fighter going into office, then voting for the next motherfucker who just sold you more hopes is bullshit. Because all they're gonna do is get in office, and these Zionists will seize control of their ass, and they will use them against our better interests. Other folks talking about we gotta buy this, that, and the other. Again, when Zionists control that game, if you thinking buying and getting a piece of paper to claim ownership, we're seeing right now where they're using the system to take people deeds, people who own their own properties. They're now using the system to take people properties, to get people who own their shit kicked out of their shit because these motherfuckers have found some tricky way to go and claim deeds to people property. So this is just where I'm really saying we have to really identify what and who we're fighting. It's not just, the black folks who you think or who you feel are going to harm you or maybe possibly break into your home, your car. Every fucking day right now, especially out here in LA, California, we are being fucking robbed as the cost of living keeps going up. It keeps going up. I see a comment on YouTube. I will get to you in a minute. I'm about to wrap this up. But if we don't really figure out systemically how we're going to deal with this, going back to the video I was speaking about, people kept saying, oh, now that the brothers and sisters in Mississippi are buying guns in higher rates, they're going to switch up the laws on them. And yes, that goes to the problem bigger than the immediate white people who are carrying out acts of terrorism. It's what we're seeing or not seeing in the courtroom. In the Carmelo Anthony case, this week it was a roller coaster where one day they decided to recuse the judge who clearly had relationships with the Metcalf family and the prosecutor. But then information came out that proved that the little white boy was a straight bully. But then yesterday, they said they're going to deny a new trial. So again, beyond the terror that Carmelo had to face from the Metcalf immediately, we're now seeing how he's being railroaded in the courtroom. The Nolan Wells case, it's growing on damn near 2 months later, and these motherfuckers still ain't made an arrest. And many of us knew immediately, as soon as we heard the circumstances of what happened, that he was killed. But especially since we heard that audio where we heard another white individual say, "Damn it, Bart," and other conversations that took place clearly identified the individual Bart is the one who killed the brother. But we're seeing police refuse to make an arrest. The DA has refused to come with charges. And one of the individuals involved in the cover-up, Mama being a judge, the primary individual, Bart, we know his parents have a relationship with the governor. So this is, again, why I'm asking, who are we fighting? Beyond whoever you plan on shooting just by getting your guns, what are the plans? When the police are called in, when the district attorney decides to not charge those who have harmed us or charge us for protecting ourselves against folks who attack us. I shared last week, our brother Freaky had just basically been sentenced to life. In that particular situation, he might not have been attacked, or the person might not have initiated the attack. But again, Freaky, one of many of us who has been attacked by non-black folks, just basically snapped. And the system is ignoring that, even though every fucking year after year after year, the city, county, and state acknowledges black people experience the most hate crimes. And primarily, these hate crimes are being carried out by Latinos. So again, when they know this and they don't do shit to address it, and leaves us in a position where we have to protect ourselves, and then they want to charge us for protecting ourselves. So again, that's why I'm asking us to think a little more deeply about what and who we're fighting and how we're going to fight that. Because again, just going out, buying a gun, planning on shooting some nigga for attacking you or some nigga for breaking into your house, breaking into your car, you're not truly preparing for the greater threats against us right now. So I'll see what comments on Instagram. Nothing really. On YouTube, Michael Robinson is saying only gang members can get in office. Elections are totally fraudulent. Only gang members can get in office. Elections are totally fraudulent. I'm going to assume when you say gang members, you're talking about the more systematic gangs. Because I can only think of one person who might be considered a gang member who's actually gotten into an office out here in Compton. But yeah, that's most definitely correct. When we still see people saying, you know, we're going to vote our way, or voting is something that's going to really help us at this point. You know, they're disconnected. Again, that was mostly older folks I saw still making those comments. Y'all can see that the sun is set from the time I started this video to now. But yeah, you know, but the promising thing in a lot of those comments was seeing a lot of younger folks. And I know, you know, out of those thousands of comments, I think it's over 20,000, probably grown on like, it's about 3,000 comments. We know quite often a lot of that doesn't really manifest into people in the real world really being about what they're saying online. And that's unfortunate because quite often I see families who loved ones are harmed. And as somebody who's really been out here, you know, going back to the 90s, over 30 some years, every time I see a new family come out and I see all the different family members and I don't recognize any of them from coming out helping us with the families who were harmed before them, and I go on people's pages and I see, you know, they were just in their own world and not really involved with what is going on. That is part of the problem, y'all. And, you know, some of the folks now who I keep asking y'all to stop just sending me fucking videos, period, is just whatever, but especially of us being harmed, it's like, what the fuck is the plan? What are y'all willing to commit to? Because out of all the shit we've done, we've been fortunate to have a lot of support, but of the many people who constantly sending me videos all day, every fucking day, ain't stepped their ass out not once to be part of the fucking solution. And that is what is fucking frustrating. Every time I see a new family come out and they're crying and they're hurt, that very possibly had them and their loved one who was the victim gotten involved prior to that, they wouldn't be dealing with the shit they dealing with. And that is quite often when I say, you know, when I make these videos, I'm not, you know, just doing this as a fucking podcast, but I'm really asking us to think, and beyond just you as an individual, build a response team. 3 to 5 people who, if some shit happens, you can reach out any time of the day, whatever the crisis is, who will respond. Not want to sit up and ask you 50 fucking thousand questions after what's going on, but where you're at, what's going on, the type of crisis, the type of fucking response you need, and they're going to move. The motherfuckers are going to sit up there and try to question you and distract you from dealing with what the fuck is going on. Get their ass off of your response team. And your response team needs 3 to 5 other people each. Each 3 people or 5 people need 3 to 5 people each. And those people need 3 to 5 people. That way, when the response comes, we can build numbers. But again, there's too many people to just sit up on their ass and, like I was saying on that video, just want to leave all these fucking comments, want to criticize the brother for putting that out there. The one criticism I had was when I went to his video, I saw him holding an Israel flag. The brother name is Dr. Niles. He had reached out to me like the day afterwards and thanked me for sharing the video. But when I went to his Facebook page, I told him I would connect with him on Facebook. When I went to his page, I saw he was holding a flag of Israel. You know, again, that was another non-black motherfucker just out of all of this space out here. Why these motherfuckers constantly feel the need to walk up real fucking close, man. But yeah, just completely lost what the fuck I was saying. But yeah, y'all, we got to seriously think ahead of what the fuck am I going to do if I'm the one in that position being attacked? Are you preparing yourselves to deal with that shit? And then say you are the one who is attacked and you successfully overcome your attacker. If they're a non-black person, now how you going to deal with them coming at you systemically? You know, because that's basically what they're telling us right now. They're telling everybody else they got the green light to fuck with us, do what the fuck ever. And we don't have a right to protect ourselves and each other. So this is what I'm saying. Beyond just being so ready and emotional to make a fucking comment or criticize those who are out here doing what the fuck we're doing, what the fuck are you going to do when they come for your ass? What are you going to do when they come for your ass? And again, I'm not just talking about black folks, because that's where most people's mind go immediately. Well, I'm going to whoop that nigga ass, or I'm going to shoot that nigga. Motherfucker try to break into my shit, I'm going to shoot that nigga. Motherfucker fuck with my car, I'm going to shoot that nigga. Well, guess what? Right now, the rising number of people coming for us ain't us. And again, legally, they're being aided and abetted. So who are we fighting? What's your plan? Okay, over here on YouTube, Reject Yourself 897 was responding to the first comment from Michael Robinson. Michael Robinson has said only gang members can get in office. Elections are totally fraudulent. And so Reject Yourself is saying selection, not election. Okay, on Instagram, our sister Keisha Cat Eyes is saying, hey, Brother Billion, I think we are fighting every... Thank you. There we go right there. I'm saying... That's one of my sisters from the reparations movement, but she already know what's up. I should have said if you are a part of our movements to not give the fucking answer. Excuse me, not give the answer, but she said it. I think we are fighting everything, y'all, and that's really what it's coming down to, y'all. Like it's getting almost too dark on Instagram. I have to wrap this up. But yeah. And at the same time, we have everything with us to fight this, you know, the Most High Creator. And that's what we really got to tap into, y'all. I'm most definitely as an advocate of getting any and all the weapons we can to protect ourselves, because immediately that's what is needed. But when we get to the part of all the aiding and abetting that is going on with the district attorneys, with the judges in the courtroom, with the juries they're going to select, and even politically, because right now you can do all the fucking voting you want, y'all. From coast to coast, they're showing they're rigging this shit to come with the outcome. And even where communities are strong enough to get true champions in the office, that's where the Zionists are making sure that's null and void. So I'm challenging us to look beyond the immediate individuals who we believe we're fighting or even know we're fighting, but to look at the greater systemic onslaught that has been unleashed against us, and to realistically identify how we're going to fight it. Prepare yourself physically, mentally, spiritually, because you get out here and have to defend your life against some motherfucker that started some shit against you, and then you find yourself in court. That, you know, becomes a serious challenge. And I speak as somebody who know I shared about the race riot, you know, Ian and two of my cousins, my nephew, found ourselves in over 20 years ago. And I ended up being the primary one in court having to, fight after that shit was initiated against me, against us. But that's the climate that many of ourselves. And what a lot of people are finding out who thought they were comfortable and it didn't affect them. If your ass is out here, again, you can't even hide in your home. Like I was just saying, these Zionists right now are using this deed trickery to take people homes from them. So any Negro right now, black person right now, or however the fuck you identify, who thinks you're not targeted, that the target hasn't increased on your back, and you just keep going through life, man. And very likely they'll be the next one that many of us have to respond to and rally around because they didn't beforehand get their response team together. They didn't beforehand get themselves prepared to deal with what the fuck is going on. And the last thing I did want to talk about, somewhat connected to all of this, before I hop off, the Tupac trial started, and the first thing that came to me is unfortunate. It's unfortunate that this didn't happen until after both our Queen Mother Afeni Shakur is gone and our great mighty brother Mutulu Shakur is gone. They not being able to see at least one of the people involved is finally being held somewhat accountable. The clown go by the name Keefe D. And it's beautiful just seeing the expressions on his face as he sits there and finally sees his ass having to answer for what the fuck he did. Not only did, but was dumb enough to fucking brag about. And now that we see the information finally coming out in the courtroom, one of the former LAPD, and I believe he was also a former FBI agents, revealed that they basically walked that fool into a trap while they were investigating the Biggie Smalls case. But they knew he was dealing drugs, and they played him. They intentionally built a drug case against him, knowing they would be able to get him to cooperate, to give up not only information about the Biggie Smalls case, but his dumb ass even went ahead and gave up information. The former agent said they weren't even asking. He volunteered that he was involved in part of the Tupac assassination. And from their initial contact with this dude, Dwayne Davis or Keefe D or whatever, it appears as though he believed he would have immunity. And I'm suspecting that's why he had been on all of these different podcasts. And I believe he wrote a book bragging about what the fuck he did. But they clearly got him in a trick bag, because whatever immunity he felt he had from the LAPD and the FBI, it wasn't valid in Vegas. And so now his ass is getting strung up. But yeah. And again, that's unfortunate that too many of us have been caught up in that frame of mind to where whether they were doing it. One of the things that the agent also revealed was that allegedly Sean Combs put up $1 million to have it, to have Tupac assassinated, but then reneged because he felt they more so did it for reactionary reasons. After Keefe D's nephew, Orlando, whatever, had gotten jumped that night, they immediately responded and killed Tupac. So allegedly, part of the story is that Sean Combs or Diddy reneged on paying the money. The other story is that he actually paid this individual Zip, and then Zip chose to not pay Keefe D and them. But regardless, he didn't get the money for it. The question whether or not he was actually involved in the assassination of Biggie remains, but now he's most definitely being held accountable for that. And again, that is consistent with the question I'm asking, what and who are we fighting? And just knowing for the past 50 or so years, many of our folks got caught up in those gang wars, which they helped to socially engineer. Most definitely in the drug wars, which they created. And, you know, whether they got caught up taking our people out with those drugs, taking our people out in the wars, or got themselves caught up doing extensive prison time. But again, knowing both the white supremacist Aryan agenda and the Zionist supremacist agenda drove all of that shit. So, again, think about it, have conversations with your loved ones, build your response team, have these conversations with them, and prepare for what's coming. MWP 446678 on YouTube is saying, don't forget financially. I'm not sure exactly what you meant by that, but along the lines of what I'm talking, I'm thinking you might mean that we are also financially under attack, and what are we going to do about that? But earlier I was saying that we just can't be about money, because that is how ultimately they control us. Because when it comes down and folks get desperate and all they're relying on is money, that's how people become predators of their own household, their own community, but will also be compromised by those who are willing to offer some chump change to do some shit, and then you end up like Keefy D looking foolish. But I'm gonna go to these last few comments over here on Instagram before I hop off. Astropreneur 247 says gentrification. Astropreneur 247 said also Afeni Shakur. It was an inside job. They set him up. What do you think of Reggie White? You know, honestly, I don't know. I don't know. And I try to not formulate an opinion beyond what is just obvious, or beyond a pattern, or beyond what I personally know. But I have heard, you know, some folks said he potentially was involved. But with the information that's coming out, I believe it's clear that the individual who they are charging right now is one of the primary ones who does need to be held accountable. I think there were other people involved. I heard Tupac was supposed to leave death row. He was going to start his own political organization. A lot of people forgot he was part of the new Black Panther Party. So with that, I'm about to hop off, because I see on Instagram y'all can't even see me no more. But yeah, y'all, don't wait till it's too fucking late. Because like I said, most of the times when we go and respond to support these families, I'm seeing a lot of family members and friends who didn't come out and support the other family members and friends, and clearly didn't give too much thought about it, and most definitely did not think about how they were going to prepare themselves and their families to deal with that shit. And that's one of the biggest areas where we're making a mistake, keep making a mistake. And I'm hoping none of y'all who see this, if you're not an agent, start fucking preparing yourselves, y'all, because that will help us overcome a lot of this shit. Preparation. All right. So with that, I'm out. Astropreneur 247 says peace back at you. All right.